everybody. Welcome back to Men's Day Out, India's only portal that covers gender stories but from the other side. I'm delighted to have with me today Mrs. Abha Singh, who is a human rights lawyer and who has taken a stand in the marital rape verdict. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today on this very important topic. And the discussion is, of course, from the other side today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And you're very right. I feel that we must have a robust debate. I mean, views, anti-views, everything should come out, and then only a law should be formed. Because it's very easy to pass a law, but when, as lawyers, as human rights lawyers, as you pointed out, when we execute a law, we see the problems. And lots of times, innocent people are arrested or their lives are destroyed, for a law which is not made with due diligence. So I feel it's very easy to say that marital rape should be made a crime, but they have to look into the statistics. They have to take opinion from all the stakeholders. So yes, you can say that I am a gender justice crusader. I'm a human rights lawyer, but this is the first time a lot of my followers and fans must be thinking that how come Abha Singh is not saying, a blind follower of the feminist movement. But I am not. See, I'm a lawyer. I have to see that the law has to be objective. It cannot be subjective like a woman's mind or her temperament.
Sure. And we had the judgment coming out yesterday from the Delhi High Court, a split judgment. What were your first thoughts when you heard about this?
I knew that the High Court earlier was coming out with strong words and tried to give a thing that yes, they're going to make marital rape an offense. But I knew they would not be able to, because this is not something which is chalk and cheese, which is so simple. There are shades of gray. So when it was a split verdict, I said that means you are not making marital rape an offense. Simple. That was my first thing, that my hunch was that they would not be able to declare it as a crime, which was not done. And they have passed the buck to the Supreme Court. These petitions were filed in 2015 and 17. So 5 years. So that means now next 5 years will go for the Supreme Court.
Ma'am, as a woman, a lot of people want to get back to you saying that, how can you not be in favor of criminalizing something like rape? But I think what we're not understanding is it is not about rape, because rape within marriage, outside marriage is rape. And nobody in their, right sense of mind is going to justify this or defend this. I think what we are opposing in general is criminalization of marital sex, which will be termed as rape only and only on the testimony of the wife. So would you like to give some broader perspective? Why are you taking this position? And, because there's a lot of misinformation floating around in social media, and you would have also been, at the receiving end since yesterday. So I think, can you make your position clear that what exactly are we opposing in this particular PI?
The dissenting judge tried to say that, like a woman has autonomy over her body, and if she says no, it means no. And when in live-in relationships, a woman says no, then you take it as an offense, you take it as rape. Even an unmarried woman, if she says no, and if somebody has sex with her without her permission, you call it rape. So they said it violates Article 14 because it is discriminating against married women. That if they are being sexually assaulted by the husband and they cannot say no, like for a physical relationship, why should I say assault? So they said Justice Shakdar tried to say that there is no intelligible differentia, and you are being discriminatory. It violates Article 14, and hence marital rape should be struck down. Marital rape should be made an offense. But I'm trying to say, why is there not an intelligible differentia? Because you're saying the law is applicable to all married women. And when you see Justice Hari Shankar's order, in one of the paragraphs, he very clearly says that marriage is sacrosanct. And, I handle family court matters also. And there, if you see, denying sex is a ground for divorce. So you have conflicting views at different places. Then under the DV Act, you have a husband can, if the wife has left him and gone away, he can go to the family court, to the magistrate court. Under the DV, you have a provision called restitution of conjugal rights. At one place, you are putting so much importance to conjugal relationship. So it is not just that your husband, a father of your two children, after that you say he's a rapist. So, and law has to be objective. Tomorrow I have a headache and I say no. So who's going to be there in that four walls? Is there going to be a camera to get evidence? What evidence is there that the wife said no or the husband assaulted her, when the husband would say no, it was a very good relationship and we both were enjoying it. So as a lawyer, very difficult to prove. Coming to even horrific, horrendous rape cases, I would say NCRB figures say that conviction is barely 29%. So in cases where it is unknown person, it's an offense, it is there is evidences, it's in public place or wherever the girl is dragged, kidnapped. But here in the four walls, how do you prove it? So it is very easy to say that you declare it as an offense. You destroy the institution of marriage. When a woman marries, a girl marries a boy, conjugal relationship is the basis of that marriage. So I feel if you make this an offense, everybody is saying let's copy the West. They have it there, they have it in England, they have it in US. But do you know their conditions? Do you know what type of society they live in? They have the prenup also. Why we don't have a prenup? We don't have that law. So every country has laws which suit their requirements. And also, if you feel a law like that is required, send it to the law commission, get all the stakeholders on board, maybe the men's right activists, the NGOs. You need to have the side of the men also, no? You cannot have a law on just somebody saying no, we need it, it should be made an offense, it should be made an offense. So I feel the time has come, we talk about it, but we cannot ape the West. And that is why the split verdict has come, because they could not reach a decision. It's not so simple. It's not so simple that with just one decision you destabilize the institution of marriage. And I said again, I'm saying that when you enter into a marriage, live-in relationship is not marriage. For marriage, this is very clear. It does not violate Article 14. You say freedom of expression, Article 19, that I have control over my body, it's autonomy, it's my body, it's my life. But when you enter into a marriage, you know what a marriage entails. Don't marry. Nobody is forcing you to marry. But when you marry, there are certain, like tomorrow a woman will say, no, why can't men have babies? Let's pass a law that women will not be forced to have children. You can't, it's not a child's play that or it's just debate. It has greater ramifications and so many laws. Even if you talk of that women are being assaulted, domestically abused, then I would say that even India is one country where even mental cruelty is an offense. 498A does not only talk of physical violation, it does not talk of beating, it talks of mental cruelty. Like if you call a woman fat, you call her, demean her, you say she's dark, that also is a cognizable, non-bailable offense. So we have so many laws to protect the women. So I don't think that women in India are at a loss. I would say at the moment, the amount of laws we have, they favor the women in this country.
So, ma'am, there's a lot of misinformation in social media, especially for people who are not from the legal background. Right now, they're made to believe that if a woman is undergoing sexual violence in her marriage, she does not have any recourse at all. As a lawyer, would you like to guide them that if a woman is facing this kind of sexual harassment or sexual violence, even from her husband, what are the laws that favor her at present?
The biggest protection is in the form of DV Act, Domestic Violence Act. And under that, any woman can approach the magistrate court, which is nearer to the place. The jurisdiction would be the area in which she lives or where this offense has taken place. Under the Domestic Violence Act, you have provision not only for, suppose you have a 2-bedroom house. The court has powers to demarcate the 2 rooms, that it can say the husband will not enter your room. In fact, if you are working within 500 meters of where you are working, if you're a teacher, the court can demarcate that the husband will not enter that area. So plus, not only that, if you feel that the husband is not paying you your maintenance, then also under the DV Act, you can get alimony. So the DV Act is a civil act, but a very powerful act, not only to give women maintenance, but also to segregate in the house if they feel there are differences and they want to live together. In fact, even custody of children. women up to the age of 5, mother is the natural guardian. After that only the father becomes the natural guardian. And children can be given to there can be a joint custody, or if the mother feels that she is a better guardian, because the law very clearly says that interest and welfare of the children are to be seen. So even when custody rights are seen, it's usually the mother who get the children. So Domestic Violence Act is a very powerful act, not only for getting placed in your house. No husband can throw you out of your house, because the definition of shared household comes in, that if you have been living in that house, which is a matrimonial home, nobody can throw you out. You can live in that house with dignity. So that is one part. Then I was talking of 498A, which we also know as dowry laws. So there, any cruelty, be it economic, be it mental, be it physical, cruelty is a cognizable non-bailable offense with punishment up to 3 years. So there also, women, if you are being tortured for dowry, or if there are restrictions, if your mother-in-law is abusing you, your husband's misbehaving or hitting you, you can just get a medical done and file an FIR, that you have been beaten up, there are bruises on you. So this is another very potent law which is being used in this country. Apart from that, you have general sections of the IPC causing hurt. If your husband has hit you with a stick or something, then 323 of the IPC. If he is restraining you, if he is closing your door, not letting you out of the house, or is monitoring you, then you have criminal restraint, 340, 341 of the IPC. Then if he's intimidating you, then there is 506 of the IPC. Then if there's some stranger who's violating your modesty, you have 509 of the IPC, which protects you from violation. Also, if some unknown person is tracking you down, following you, suppose you're going to college and he follows you all the way, then you have stalking. 354 of the IPC is talking of molestation. Then stalking, disrobing, voyeurism, all these are protected under the law. After the Nirbhaya Act, Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013 was passed, where we made stalking, disrobing, voyeurism, all these were offenses. And second time stalking was, you could be arrested for that. Earlier, if we all would remember that when we were in college, if you were going to the market, you would have some of these Romeos tracking you, following you, but you had no legal recourse. But today you have an offense, specific IPC offense. Even what I'm trying to say, there are innumerable laws which protect women. So the family laws, the Divorce Act, in fact, you can talk for alimony, a permanent alimony. If you want to walk out of the marriage, with a full alimony, you can move out of a marriage. So you can dissolve your marriage if there's an irretrievable breakdown of marriage. That can be a cause. So I think under the IPC and coupled with the Domestic Violence Act, there are enough laws to protect women right now.
Ma'am, I'll just draw you back, because when I asked you if a woman is undergoing sexual violence in a marriage, under the DV Act, under the 498A Act, IPC, as well as Section 377, she does have recourse even at present. Am I right?
Yeah, 77 may only that part has been criminalized, where it's the same couple. But yes, if she's being sodomized, if it's an unnatural sex, that still remains an offense. So definitely under the DV Act, if she's suffering violence, she can go to the court, she can go for the demarcation of the house, she can go for maintenance. Then also, not only that, if the husband is torturing her, because in a marriage everything is not only about physical assault, there is 125 of the CRPC. Even under 125 of the CRPC, you have a right to demand maintenance. So financial independence of the wife is so well protected by the court. In fact, the law is so clear that a woman is entitled to the lifestyle which she is living with her husband. So tomorrow, if you are facing assault in your marriage, nothing stops you from walking to the police station. Nothing stops you from walking to the court. And if you feel and you can prove to the court that you cannot live with your husband, the court will ensure that the husband provides you a house equivalent to the house you were living with him, or of the same level.
So what we are trying to narrow down is that if a woman today is facing any kind of violence, whether it's mental, physical, sexual, she should not
economic
step
also.
out. Yes. So there is no reason that she should not step out of that relationship, because there are ample laws which actually protect and provide for her, even if she wants to separate from an abusive husband.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now let us take a reverse case. Let's say if this marital rape law goes through. And we are not saying for a moment that all cases that are going to be filed are going to be false or motivated. But on the other side, if a husband is charged of marital rape by his wife, what is the defense that he would have in his favor? Because naturally, it is going to be the word of the wife that is going to prevail. The matter will be registered, and later the trial will, go on for years and years. So this is, I think, the main problem which most men are, wanting even the judiciary to address. That if this law goes through, what is the defense that husbands have?
Exactly. Like, as I said, for evidence, when it goes for trial, you'll have to prove that you are not an abusive husband, you did not assault your wife, you did not rape your wife. So how will you prove that? Generally in family courts, we see that where wives have filed violence cases, husbands come with pictures, and we show to the court, if I am representing the husband in some cases, that see in the picture they look happy. You can see they are holidaying together, they are taking a vacation in US, they are skiing in Switzerland. So these type of evidences also, as I said, because this offense, marital rape, would take place within the four walls, so it would be very difficult to prove. Both sides, it will become a lawyer's battle rather, because the husband's lawyer would try to say no, it was just a conjugal relationship, it was both sides were equally involved. But the wife would say, so then they would show some medical, it would be that she was beaten up, there are wounds, and then there were broken things, things like that. Or there's a servant in the house, if there are other people living in the house, you'll have to give them as witnesses statements. So for the men, it would be they'll have to prove and prove and prove that, look, if there are children, they will come and depose, like this is how we'll have to go about. But then the first issue would be the court will have to make an objective law. It cannot be subjective, that the wife said no. You'll have to say whether it was with force, whether he was violent, whether actually she said no and then he forced himself upon her. So these are tighter things, finer things which need to be looked into. It's not going to come, this law is not going to come like a drop of the hat. It will take time. It will, because it will shake up the whole system. And as it is, we believe that nobody should be punished, he should be taken as innocent till proven guilty. So I think we'll have to be, that is the reason from lower court you go to the high court, then you go to the Supreme Court. So now a bigger bench of Supreme Court will have to look into these issues. And I think stakeholders have a right to present their point of view, because like if I want like to tell you about the adultery law which was struck down. Till now we had a lopsided law, in the sense a husband could file a adultery case on the lover of his wife, the male counterpart, but the wife did not have a right to file a same case on the woman who was having an affair with her husband. So when we went in the Josephine Swami, that case came in, and I was there also as an intervener, and the point of view which I was trying to put before the court, that if you strike down adultery, what will happen to cases? And I had specifically pointed out this matter, that what about these women, these Jawans who are in the borders, their wives are living alone in separated areas, they would fall prey to these unsocial elements, antisocial elements. And at that time, at the drop of the hat, Supreme Court made it, adultery was made was decriminalized. Now central government has gone back to the Supreme Court to say that we need to protect these wives in separated quarters because their men are at the borders, and now since adultery is no longer an offense. So we don't want that type of a situation to come, that once you decriminalize it, then again you say, okay, now we'll have to go back. So in this case also, it should be looked into by the stakeholders. And if husbands feel, and in the first place I feel it's in a country like India, I would not suggest marital rape to be made an offense at all. And if you are making it also, it should not be a cognizable, non-bailable offense. It should be on a lighter side, because today if you see sedition, there is just 4% conviction under 124A of the IPC, when there has been a jump of 160% in the arrest part. So let us not get into a situation, because a healthy marriage, a husband, and when you talk of equality, then only why we are saying that wife can file a rape charge. What about men who are being mentally harassed? If you see suicide figures, more married men commit suicide than women. So, these things need to be looked out. And I'm happy that people like you are debating it, talking about it, because At one time we did need dowry laws, and I'm a strong protagonist of the 498A, because we had a lot of bride burning, and I always say that none of the husbands are burnt. So that is why we needed this law to protect women, and to some extent it has protected women from being burnt in their kitchens, because even today as I talk, every day in 24 hours 23 brides are burnt every day for dowry. So 498A was justified. But here you are creating a law where where the husband and wife, they are stakeholders, and we know conjugal relationship is the basis of a marriage. So you are trying to attack that very basis of a marriage, the conjugal relationship. So you need to put your mind to it. Just because America has it or London has it, we cannot just go and follow them blindly.
And when we compare other jurisdictions, they also have a gender neutral domestic violence law. In India, men don't even have a basic domestic violence law. I mean, today, if a man is, wanting to go for a divorce, the only recourse he has is to file for divorce on grounds of cruelty, which is again a civil offense. So, we want to just bring more and more laws in favor of women, while the men really are left with no recourse.
In fact, when 498A matters were being discussed in Supreme Court, one of the judges clearly said that it is now 498A is becoming legal terrorism. At that time, the court said that you will not arrest the husband's family just like that. In fact, the court said that there are wives and mothers of husbands who are living in the US. And yet police has filed a 498A offense FIR on them. So, and at that time they said you should not arrest immediately. You have to investigate the matter. So the courts also realized it. And after that only, there has been some check on this. So, like women who are living in the US. In fact, I was handling a matter recently in Bombay High Court. So this guy was working with me in my postal department where I was, and he came to me very embarrassed. And he said, ma'am, my daughter-in-law has put a 498A on me. And she has not only put it on my son, myself, and my wife, but I have 4 daughters. She has put on all my 4 daughters and their husbands. And 2 of them, she doesn't even know their names. She's put wrong names. So 11 FIRs from a woman who doesn't even know her sister-in-laws. So that trauma we cannot create by just declaring that marital rape is an offense.
Sure. And as you rightly pointed out, these laws were made decades ago when we had joint family system where women were not allowed to work or educate. But today, in an environment where most of the couples are living in a nuclear family, I mean, we are not even reviewing those laws. So imagine if we bring in yet another lopsided law, we are only going to have another century, of trauma for the other gender.
Absolutely.
So, in your opinion, what would be the solution? Because a lot of countries in the West, have been going through, somewhere coming down to terms with no fault divorce or irretrievable breakdown in divorce. So, do you think India should look forward to, something like that? Because today a lot of couples separate due to not being compatible with each other. But in the absence of any grounds, which they can file for divorce, they try to look out for false cases, trying to prove fault in the other. So is it time that India starts looking at something like a no fault divorce, that if there is a problem between the couple, irrespective of who is right, who is wrong, the marriage can be dissolved if the differences are absolutely, they could not be reconciled at all?
Absolutely. In fact, I feel the first thing should be we should have a prenup. So that will put an end to a lot of litigation, because when you've already decided, because a lot of cases are filed and then the issue comes up of maintenance, of getting a lump sum maintenance. And in fact, recently Supreme Court came out with a thing saying that when you're filing these DV cases and you're asking for maintenance, the wife's assets statement should also be produced in the court. Why only husbands? And in fact, recently Bombay High Court came out with an order where it ordered that the wife will pay the husband 30,000 per month. So the law is very clear that whoever has more money should provide for the other. So when we talk of equality, we need to bring that. Why should only the husband give? If he is not in a job, if the wife is better off, the wife should pay, vice versa. So you're very right. If they're both having problems, it should be done decently, amicably. And of course, you should have like they said, irretrievable breakdown of marriage is one ground where you are absolutely incompatible. You cannot go along. So if this issue is sorted, that you have a prenup, I feel as a lawyer who's handling a lot of divorce cases or DV cases, it would put an end to a lot of washing dirty linen in public.
Absolutely. And ma'am, just last question. You would have also observed in social media, whenever there is a judgment supposedly not suiting the narratives of a certain section, and I'll be very blunt to put it out, people who are favoring women, if the judgments are not favoring women, there's a lot of bullying which happens. Like yesterday also, there was name calling of Justice C. Harishankar, and everybody was, attacking him for the kind of comments he had made on his part of the judgment. Do you see this is going to influence the judges in any ways going forward, or how do we address this issue?
You're very right. I feel name calling should not be there. The decorum and dignity of the court should be maintained. And yes, trolling has started. Even, why would I say for this? Even for Me Too movement, where women had the courage to come out and speak. A lot of men, because they have the money power. There, I would say, they have used these troll armies to, attack these women and talk about, unknown people would write about their character and things like that. So it's both ways. It's not only feminists who are name calling, but it is men also. And because what I have seen is because men have the money power. So they get a battery of lawyers, and it's very difficult, in sexual harassment at workplace, posh cases, posh law, which we call. In that, I've seen MG Akbar's case. We all are seeing how the top lawyers come, and here women, they go pro bono. In fact, most of the cases I've seen when women come to me for domestic violence matters, or they have an abusive relationship in marriage, they don't have money to engage a lawyer. They cannot stand out for that long, whereas the husband has the control of the purse in the house. So it is a lopsided relationship. So we need to look at the women also with sympathy, because they don't have that kind of money to engage a battery of lawyers who can put across their views. So that is why I think the law in India is a little supportive towards women, and we really need to hold hands if we want them also to be at the same level, what you call break the glass ceiling.
But yesterday, a journalist has actually put out a tweet calling Justice C. Harishankar an ass after the judgment. How would we look at this? I mean, because, it is a kind of arrogance that we would get away with it.
No, I think if somebody is called, they should be tried for contempt of court. You are not supposed to call out judges like that. In fact, if you remember AIB roast, and where we said media free speech and you can talk anything, I was the lawyer in that. And in fact, my kids got trolled. They said, how can your mother be so regressive? But I got that FIR lodged when on that AIB roast team, which was done in NSCI. And my issue was, you can't treat women as an object. You can't, talk rubbish about her. So even if this journalist has said that, courts should take note. What happens is, courts now also feel of, oh, okay, if we take cognizance of this, they'll become celebs, and then media will go blah blah. But my request is to everyone: if you want to strengthen the cause of women, maintain decorum, maintain dignity, and by calling names, you are hurting your own case. Like I always say, that if you file a false case, you're destroying the case of millions of genuine women, because that one wrong case, that false case, will be quoted by men in any other case, that look, see what happened in that, this woman is also false. So that's why I tell everyone, please desist from making a false case. And in fact, I always tell them that there is a section called 182 and 211 of the IPC. If somebody is filing a false case to destroy your reputation, go back and file a counter case. But please do not use language like this. I mean, I'm really sad if journalists, they feel that they will get away, and for one day fame, a lot of people come out and talk crass, which we should desist from.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for this candid chat, ma'am. And as in how this case progresses in the Supreme Court, we'll be in touch with you to get more comments from you on this.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.